As an adult learner in the first few weeks of higher education, I've been reflecting on my sessions in this module and keeping track of my confidence levels in order to establish what effect learning in higher education has had on my confidence. In this podcast, I shall be critically evaluating how my confidence has changed throughout my learning in the first 10 weeks of higher education. I'll do that by using a graph which I've created to visualise the confidence journey. As you can see, in week 10, my confidence levels were pretty low, only 3. I explain this in my reflection for this week is because I felt nervous about starting university. During the first few weeks, as I felt a little bit more comfortable in my surroundings, my confidence levels began to increase and they reached 5 by week 15. Social constructionists describe learning as something which is socially constructed. Vygotsky believes that we are social creatures, and for us to progress, we need to learn from a more knowledgeable other. Now, I found this to be true in my week 15 reflection and confidence levels, which by this point had reached 5. Now, in my reflection of that week, I described that I was struggling to understand the reading fully when I was reading it independently. It was only after discussing it with my peers that I was able to offer my own ideas on the subject and help people understand it, and thus become a more knowledgeable other myself. Although Piaget argues that in order to move on to the next stage of development, an individual needs to be psychologically mature enough, Piaget focuses more upon the individual's cognitive development. The social development that I commented on in my week 15 checks, when I explained that discussing my reading with my peers helped my understanding, whilst true, it can also be argued that had I not have spent time alone reading the information for myself, I would not have been able to move on to the next stage, which was to discuss reading with them. The rising confidence levels on that week could simply be attributed to the fact that I'd spent time alone reading the text. My later checks show a little dip towards the end, as I had my first essay to be in for marking. Now, I feel that one key area that would develop my confidence further would be to discuss my learning with my peers and perhaps even become a mentor myself. Considering the points discussed in this podcast, it'd be fair to say that I've developed as a learner in higher education. From the graph, I've established that I've grown in confidence and described how this may fit in with a social constructionist's view. These points, I feel, describe how I've personally developed as a learner in higher education and how I can develop further.